You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It is a dark part of East Bay history. One city's first black family to own a home forced out. Meet the artist now tasked with a cultural history lesson.
We're interested in people, how people remember, and how that past then becomes part of their future.
Plus, while some malls run empty, this one in San Francisco is attracting people from all around the Bay Area. We're going to show you the secret to its success.
This is definitely something that has brought us back into a mall environment.
And we look at the special mentoring program in the East Bay, why leaders say the key to building a better future for the Black community lies in reconnecting with the past. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Ann Makovic. Let's get right to the Bay Area communities on alert for possible power shutoffs. This map shows where they could happen. Those areas shaded in orange, mostly in Alameda County. Power could be knocked out to several hundred PG&E customers there. They could also impact some small pockets of Contra Costa and Santa Clara counties. PG&E says those shutoffs could last through the weekend because of the high fire danger we're experiencing. Evacuation orders have been lifted in Antioch after this brush fire raced up the hills toward homes. This broke out at around 7:30 last night along Summersville Road by James Donyon Boulevard. Firefighters say forward progress has been stopped. At least 4 people were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation. That is according to county fire protection officials. One assisted living home that was in the evacuation zone had to move its residents to safety. One woman came to get her 88-year-old father.
Firemen, all I can do is give them praise for always keeping everyone safe and just acting as quickly as they do. And we would not be anywhere without firemen.
CAL FIRE says the so-called Summersville fire is at least 80% contained. All right, now let's get a check on our first alert forecast and the winds that are bringing that high fire danger. Here's meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Well, temperatures are cooling down a lot as we head into this afternoon, at least compared to yesterday. Yesterday, we almost hit the triple digits in areas like Antioch, but today we're back into the 80s. We're also expecting 80s up into Santa Rosa today, with the rest of the North Bay only topping off in the 70s. It's a lot cooler along our coastline, 50s in Half Moon Bay and Pacifica today, low 60s into San Francisco, and along 101 all the way into Redwood City in the Santa Clara Valley. We're only gearing up for low 70s as we head into this afternoon. Now, it is going to be a breezy afternoon ahead of us. Here's what's happening. This area of low pressure just to the north of us continues to move its way to the south, bringing in some storms for our friends up in the Pacific Northwest. But back here locally, we're just dealing with gusty winds right around the corner, especially into the afternoon hours today. Earlier this morning, we already had wind gusts up to around 20-30 miles per hour. It gets stronger into the afternoon hours today, up to around 40 to 45 mile per hour wind gust up in areas like Stinson Beach and Bodega Bay. San Francisco topping off around 36 mile per hour winds into our lunchtime and dinner time hours tonight. Now we head all the way into the forecast tomorrow, just around the same time. Notice how the winds kick up even more. We're dealing with strong onshore winds into our weekend forecast, and we keep a close eye on that, matched with those daytime highs too. Now, fire weather conditions are definitely noticeable. Low relative humidity, and of course the windy conditions, but at least temperatures are a lot cooler compared to what we were just dealing with yesterday. Yesterday, our inland areas heated up a lot. Today, we're back into the 70s, a similar trend for Friday, and then we're gearing up for a little bit of a warm up heading into this weekend and early next week. Now you make your way over into the Bay, closer to San Francisco and Oakland. This is where we see temperatures a little bit cooler, 60s and 70s back and forth each day this weekend, and that's the same case as we head into next week too.
Thanks, Jess. Police in Fremont are investigating a smash and grab robbery at a jewelry store. Authorities say a group of suspects used a car to ram the front of the store. Then they smashed display cases and grabbed what they could before taking off. This happened on Maury Avenue and Farwell Avenue just before 5:30 last night. Police tracked down one of the suspects' cars. 4 people were taken into custody. Several other suspects still at large. We have covered countless stories about illegal dumping across Oakland, but this is something else. Security cameras caught this truck pouring some kind of sludge out the back onto the street. This happened in the middle of the night on Pearman Street in East Oakland. That is off 98th Avenue, about a half mile from 880. We reported in the past on how that street has become a dumping ground for all sorts of garbage and debris. Our Katie Nielsen heard from a business owner who is fed up and says it's time for the city to act.
So this is what's left of whatever it was that was dumped out of that truck as it was rolling down Main Street. Thousands of gallons of what appears to be concrete slurry going all the way down the street as far as you can see.
This street is a dumping ground for the city of Oakland. And of course, the city of Oakland will do nothing for this. They won't address the problem.
It was John Lewis's security cameras that caught a truck dumping thousands of gallons of sludge all over Main Street just before 2 o'clock this morning. He's had a high-end architectural glass business in the city for more than 50 years and says he's fed up with all the trash and dumping on his street. But this was a new low.
I don't know whether it's toxic. I don't know whether it's benign. I have no idea what it is.
So he called the council member who represents his district, Ken Houston.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ken Houston?
Ken, very nice to meet
Pleasure,
you.
pleasure.
I've been out here with my business since '91, you know, and it's just gotten continually worse.
I've been in office 151 days. This is spillover from that old administration. We got new administration that's not going to tolerate this nonsense. It's not.
Councilmember Houston says in addition to aggressive prosecution, there also needs to be more cleanup.
Who cares? You got graffiti vandalism. Let me just go and dump it here. Nobody cares. That's the mindset.
Houston used to work as a general contractor and says he knows exactly what was happening on Main early this morning.
If somebody did a job, like a slurry job, concrete job, cement job, and then they washed it up, and then they just came and said, let me just dump it on the street instead of disposing it properly. This is a crime against this community. If you lived there with your new baby, how would you feel? If you was a business owner, how would you feel? We have to bring back law and order, and a person that does something like this should be prosecuted.
Lewis says he supports Houston's plan, but also questions whether anything will actually change because of the city's lack of response for years. He does joke there are some advantages to that.
The best thing about having a business in Oakland is that they leave you alone.
If the person responsible for this is caught and convicted, they could be facing some hefty fines, including paying the cost of cleanup and even jail time.
Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, we are going to meet a North Bay couple whose home has survived 3 wildfires, all thanks to their own prevention efforts. But now they're worried their neighbors aren't pulling their weight.
I don't think I have unrealistic expectations. I just want them to follow the code.
Their call for the county to crack down, plus helping people experience and learn about a dark time more than 100 years ago. We're going to introduce you to the artist, hoping to teach people what happened to the first Black family to own a home in the East Bay.
You know, it's just that simple. I think if we don't tell our stories, someone else will.
And while many malls in San Francisco remain empty, there is one that has really been beating the odds. We'll give you the secret to its success.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Well, it is a breezy day for us today, but at least the temperatures are a lot cooler compared to yesterday, at least. Yesterday, we got close to the triple digits in areas like Antioch, all the way up into the North Bay, too. But today, we're back into the 70s, and that's the case as we head into the first day of summer right around the corner tomorrow. The longest day of the year is also going to be a very sunny one for many of us here in the Bay. A little bit cloudier along the coastline, but other than that, we're just dealing with strong winds pushing in from offshore. Each afternoon as we dive into this weekend, the winds die down as we head into next week.
The city of Berkeley has just passed one of the toughest regulations in the state to address wildfire risk. It requires people to create a 5-foot buffer between their homes and any vegetation. It's called the Ember Proposal. It's faced heavy opposition. And now a group of neighbors is even considering taking legal action. We spoke with George Perez-Velez with the Alliance for Practical Fire Solutions. It's a grassroots group. He says this proposal puts a financial burden on homeowners that can't afford to comply with the new regulations.
I was not surprised. I was heartbroken. I believe that the city had already made its mind. Is it really necessary? Is this proposal going to accomplish what they say there is going to accomplish?
The Alliance for Practical Fire Solutions has 30 days to decide whether or not to take legal action. Meanwhile, the Berkeley City Council says it will review and make changes to the Ember Proposal as it gets ready to roll out in the next year. A couple in rural Napa County says that their home is being threatened because of flammable vegetation on other properties. They told our John Ramos they want their neighbors and the county to step up fire prevention efforts.
When the Atlas fire roared through Napa County in 2017, the destruction it caused was a huge wake-up call for many Bay Area communities about fire prevention. But one group of homeowners living in this area say Napa County itself didn't seem to get the message. You have to excuse Chris and Carrie Frissette for being a bit obsessed about wildfire prevention. In 1981, not long after they bought their Napa County home, there was a fire the day after they had cleared weeds from their property.
My husband left when the hoses on the neighbor's property up front started to melt. And when he left, he said, "I'm sorry, Carrie, our house is gone." But it wasn't. So from that point on, for the last 45 years, we've been fire hardening the property. Every year we've done something.
Actually, they've pretty much done everything. Their home has been stuccoed with all the plants removed near the structure. They have 6,000 gallons of water in tanks, feeding 3 pumps with fire hoses for each. There are instructions for firefighters and a turnaround at the top of their driveway. And the property has been completely cleared of any low-lying vegetation that could send flames up into the trees. So when the 2017 Atlas fire tore through their neighborhood, guess whose house was saved?
And God bless them, because they parked in my driveway, pulled on my property and said, "We've nicknamed your house the Clean House. We can defend this."
But that doesn't mean they're out of the woods when it comes to fire danger. That's because this is what the neighbor's property looks like.
This is a 5-acre parcel. So there's a wooden barn and a wooden house, and the whole front end of it is in weeds.
Is there somebody living on this property?
Yes.
And they don't see the danger?
I don't think they care.
The back of the lot is even worse, with a solid wall of highly flammable Scotch broom growing about 40 feet from the Frissette's house. By law, there's supposed to be a 100-foot defensible space, so they called the county.
And when I said, "Well, gee, the code enforcer didn't show up," he said, "He's a very busy man." That was it.
That busy man was Deputy Fire Marshal Eric Hernandez, who for a long time was the only property inspector for the entire county.
For 3 or 4 years, it was myself. Then we went to 2. Last year we had 4. And I mean, the reality is this. We're doing the best we can.
But another reality is that after years of complaining, the neighbor's weeds still haven't been removed.
And he was a good guy. He was a good guy, but you're limited when you have one person doing it. So I don't think that they're really doing a good job, because I'm looking around seeing not a good job done. nobody's enforcing anything because that's a mess.
Hernandez says the county has worked hard to remove fuels from the open areas, but getting people to remove vegetation from private property is another matter.
We facilitated a process where people submit a complaint via our website. And if it's something that, in our opinion, it's going to warrant a abatement warrant, then it gets brought up to my attention and then we'll execute it.
How many times last year did you actually force someone to abate their property?
Oh my God, the top of my head, I don't have an actual number, but it was in the tens. Like the beauty of the beauty of this is that sometimes when people reach out to us and we issue the notice and we certified mail that copy, the property owners are getting back to us.
But that doesn't mean they're actually clearing the brush, at least not next to the Frissettes.
I mean, maybe I am obsessed with it, but I've been through 3 fires here, and there's more to come, guaranteed more to come. So you might as well be ready for it, because if you're not, you could lose your home.
Not to mention, you could cause other people to lose their homes as well.
Well, the fire marshal says this year Napa has increased its staff to 6 fire inspectors to cover the 789 square miles of the county's rural areas. Oakland moving forward with the pilot program to install speed cameras. So heads up if you have a lead foot. 35 cameras going to be set up in 18 locations selected by Oakland's Department of Transportation. There is a 60-day warning period for drivers. And after that, anyone going more than 11 miles per hour over the limit will get a citation with fines starting at $50. Oakland anticipates those cameras will be installed before the end of the year. Heads up for riders who take Muni in San Francisco. Going to have fewer options as some service cuts go into effect this weekend. Among the changes, 2 bus lines along Hayes and Parnassus will be consolidated into one single line. Muni is also shortening 2 routes, the 5 Fulton and 9 San Bruno, so that they turn around at Market Street. The agency also paring back the 31 Balboa. Transit officials say these moves will save more than $7 million. Agency's projected deficit is $322 million in the next fiscal year. 101 years ago, the first Black family to ever own a home in the city of Piedmont faced redlining and racism. Sydney and Irene Deering were eventually forced to sell their house and leave the city. After discovering their dark history, the city and residents of Piedmont decided to confront their past and make amends by building a memorial to honor the Deering family. Today, that project is picking up momentum. As Ryan Yamamoto reports, it will feature the work of a Bay Area artist and landscape architect, Walter Hood, whose designs not only teach people about cultural history, but helps them experience it.
Inside this Oakland design studio,
these were just studies in the beginning,
is where Walter Hood transforms ideas into design.
So one enters here, one enters there.
Design into art, and art into experiences.
We're interested in people, how people remember, and how that past then becomes part of their future.
His latest future project to tell the story of a dark piece of history in the East Bay.
This is a model of a project that we're working on, Sydney Deering Park and commemorative sculpture in Piedmont, California.
In January 1924, Sydney Deering and his wife Irene became the first Black family to own a home in the city of Piedmont, during a time when many communities were redlining people of color to prevent them from living in certain neighborhoods. Piedmont was no different. Newspaper articles show the city council and residents wanted the Deering family out, and when they refused, the town became angry. The home becoming a target. An unexploded bomb made of dynamite was found in the garden. And in May of 1924, a violent mob of 500 people surrounded the home. So after living there for less than a year, the Deering family, for their own safety, sold the home back to the city of Piedmont. Gary Toit has lived in the Deering house with his family for almost 20 years, but had no idea about the home's history when he bought it.
So it came as a shock when we found out.
a shock that was uncovered by Piedmont residents during COVID in 2020, who even set up this website documenting the city's shameful past.
I think although the history is ugly, I think it's really important that we honor those people that went through it, and I'm glad that we know about it now and that the community is aware.
A community who wanted to make things right. In 2020, the Piedmont City Council began the process of building a memorial to the Deering family inside the tiny Redwood Park that sits in front of the home.
We are a different community today, and being a different community means facing difficult topics. It means confronting difficult chapters in our history. It means having difficult conversations.
And they chose Walter Hood to lead that conversation.
We're extremely excited to work with someone of his caliber, an internationally renowned artist who is incredibly gifted in the art of cultural storytelling.
His stories and projects can be found all across the Bay Area, from the gardens of the DeYoung Museum, the Bow along the Embarcadero, to Panoramic Park on Yerba Buena Island.
And they'll have an experience.
And Walter Hood wanted to work on the Deering family project because, he said, it was personal.
I'm a black man. I think, it's just that simple. I think if we don't tell our stories, someone else will.
In his original design, the Deering story will be told through two portals that visitors sit inside and through a mirror can look out to two windows.
And these are metaphorical for the couple who never had a chance to dwell here in Piedmont. And the last piece is up high on a flagpole is an oversized mailbox that has the Deering's name on the side, and the flag is up, meaning that they have mail.
Recently, Hood finished the garden at the International African American Museum in South Carolina. And although the two projects different in scale, he believes all the stories are truly connected.
Charleston prides itself on its history as the oldest city in the country, and they lost the site, which was 45%, we think, of the African slave diaspora landed there and was sold. And so if a place like that, that's steeped in history, can forget, right, something that consequential, right, to the makings of America, little Piedmont, this little story, it's easy for this story to be swept under.
But now, through the research of the local residents, the diligence of the city, and now the design of Walter Hood, a light will forever shine on the story of the first black family of Piedmont.
According to Piedmont City Administrator Rosanna Bayon-Moore, the Deering Family Project is at what she calls the 50% concept stage, with the intent of fully installing the memorial by June of next year. Still ahead, a mall in San Francisco is thriving, while others are still struggling. How interactive entertainment is drawing the crowds.
We're coming up the escalator and everyone else is like, oh, okay, they gotta get their errands done and we're coming here to play.
low pressure just to the north of us. It's bringing in some storms for our friends up in the Pacific Northwest, but really what we're getting here in the Bay is the leftovers. It's the winds. As we head into the afternoon hours today, that pressure gradient gets stronger. We're seeing stronger winds pushing in from offshore with gusts anywhere up to around 45 miles per hour just into our lunchtime hours in areas like Bodega Bay and along Point Reyes, stretched all the way down into Stinson Beach. But you continue to track south. Look at San Francisco. By 5 o'clock, we're talking about 35 mile per hour wind gust and about 35 mile per hour wind gust in our inland areas like Livermore. Now we advance the clock all the way to tomorrow evening, at least, just around 4 o'clock. And we're noticing even stronger winds in a lot of our communities. So that's the reason why we have potential power shutoffs in the forecast for us as we dive into this weekend. We have strong winds still lasting into our Friday and Saturday forecast. But luckily, as we head into this weekend, at least temperatures stay mild. And relative humidity, it's a little bit lower for this time of year, I will say. So fire weather conditions are possible as we head into this weekend. We'll keep a close eye on those winds. The other big weather story, well, tomorrow's the first day of summer. We're gearing up for 70s in our inland forecast. A very mild forecast into early next week with mid-80s by Sunday heading into Monday. And you make your way over into the Bay, well, we're going to see a lot more clouds each day, especially as we head into our Friday and Saturday setup with 60s and 70s going back and forth as we head into early next week.
It is no secret that a lot of Bay Area malls are struggling, none more visibly than the San Francisco Center Mall downtown. Inside that mall, it's almost a ghost town with about nothing else but vacant stores. That mall's set to be auctioned off next month. But across town, it's a much different story. Stonestown is buzzing with activity. The mall was once in a tough spot itself, and Itai Hodge shows us how they managed to turn it all around.
This mall in San Francisco has all the usuals: escalators, a food court, and plenty to tempt your wallet. But here, it's not your credit card that's getting a workout. It's your heart rate.
As we're coming up the escalator and everyone else is like, oh, okay, they gotta get their errands done and we're coming here to play.
Nathan and Jill McCall, their kids Selah and Dorian, and family friend Autumn drove 2 hours for a mall trip that was less about shopping,
purple, blue, white,
and more about strategy.
It's green, red, red.
Inside, they found Activate, a high-tech team-based arena.
Okay, hit it!
That's equal parts laser tag, brain teaser, and cardio blast.
What is it about this game?
This particular game, I'm sweating.
The floors light up. The walls throw challenges. The scoreboard keeps you humble.
It's just one more way to be together.
Mom Jill says she's not usually a fan of malls, but this one was a slam dunk.
This is definitely something that has brought us back into a mall environment.
According to Capital Shopping Research, up to 87% of large shopping malls are predicted to close over the next decade.
Are malls having to reinvent themselves right now?
Yes, they are.
Paco Underhill literally wrote the book on malls. He says they're shifting from retail hubs to experience-driven destinations, places that blend entertainment, dining, and even housing.
The larger context of the shopping mall is, can I make it a real city? It's what we call placemaking.
Number one. Yeah, and number two, and number three.
As for the McCall family, they made it to the top of the scoreboards. But that, says Dad Nathan, was never the point.
The score is cool, but I mean, we don't spend a lot of time looking here. The place we spend a lot of time looking is just at each other.
Ready? Because sometimes the best shopping trips don't involve shopping at all. Just time together and nothing to bag but memories.
If you are curious to check it out, a 1 hour session at Activate costs $35 per person. Tonight, the Golden State Valkyries facing off against the most famous face in the league, Caitlin Clark. And if you can't make it to Chase Center, you can watch the game against the Indiana Fever live on KPIX. The Valkyries have been enjoying a lot of popularity in their inaugural season. Right now, they are leading the league in attendance with 5 consecutive sellouts at home. Clark's arrival tonight is likely to generate even more buzz amongst Bay Area basketball fans. So the game tipping off at 7 o'clock. Our live coverage with Vern Glenn and Matt Lively begins with our pregame show at 6:30. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area.
An Iranian missile strikes an Israeli hospital as the conflict between the countries approaches a week. I'm Natalie Brand at the White House, where the president is weighing possible U.S. involvement.
Plus, as the Bay Area celebrates Juneteenth, we're highlighting an organization in the East Bay dedicated to mentoring the next generation of young black men.
We're working with young boys to help them develop as individuals.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Ann Makovic, and here is another look at our news headlines today. PG&E says power shutoffs could be happening today because of fire danger. They would impact less than 1,000 PG&E customers total, mostly in Alameda County. This could also impact pockets of Contra Costa and Santa Clara counties. The utility company says those shutoffs could last through the weekend. Police in Fremont investigating a smash and grab robbery at a jewelry store. Authorities say a group of suspects used a car to ram into the front of the store. Then they smashed display cases and grabbed what they could before taking off. This happened on Maury Avenue and Farwell Avenue last night. Police tracked down one of the suspects' cars. 4 people were taken into custody and several other still at large. Oakland moving forward with the pilot program to install speed cameras. 35 cameras will be set up in 18 locations selected by Oakland's Department of Transportation. There is a 60-day warning period for drivers, and after that, anyone speeding more than 11 miles per hour over the limit will get a citation. Those fines starting at $50. They're expected to be installed before the end of the year. All right, let's get another check on our Thursday First Alert forecast. Here's meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Well, temperatures are cooling down a lot as we head into this afternoon, at least compared to yesterday. Yesterday, we almost hit the triple digits in areas like Antioch, but today we're back into the 80s. We're also expecting 80s up into Santa Rosa today, with the rest of the North Bay only topping off in the 70s. It's a lot cooler along our coastline, 50s in Half Moon Bay and Pacifica today, low 60s into San Francisco, and along 101 all the way into Redwood City in the Santa Clara Valley. We're only gearing up for low 70s as we head into this afternoon. Now, it is going to be a breezy afternoon ahead of us. Here's what's happening. This area area of low pressure just to the north of us continues to move its way to the south, bringing in some storms for our friends up in the Pacific Northwest. But back here locally, we're just dealing with gusty winds right around the corner, especially into the afternoon hours today. Earlier this morning, we already had wind gusts up to around 20, 30 miles per hour. It gets stronger into the afternoon hours today, up to around 40 to 45 mile per hour wind gust up into areas like Stinson Beach and Bodega Bay. San Francisco topping off around 36 mile per hour winds into our lunchtime and dinner time hours tonight. Now we head all the way into the forecast tomorrow, just around the same time. Notice how the winds kick up even more. We're dealing with strong onshore winds into our weekend forecast, and we keep a close eye on that, matched with those daytime highs too. Now fire weather conditions are definitely noticeable. Low relative humidity, and of course the windy conditions, but at least temperatures are a lot cooler compared to what we were just dealing with yesterday. Yesterday, our inland areas heated up a lot. Today, we're back into the 70s, a similar trend for Friday, and then we're gearing up for a little bit of a warm up heading into this weekend and early next week. Now you make your way over into the Bay, closer to San Francisco and Oakland. This is where we see temperatures a little bit cooler, 60s and 70s back and forth each day this weekend, and that's the same case as we head into next week too.
Things continuing to escalate in the Middle East. An Iranian missile attack overnight hit civilian targets in Israel. That is the latest escalation of tensions between the two countries. And as Natalie Brand reports, that could ratchet up even more if President Trump decides to allow U.S. forces to help strike a nuclear facility in Iran.
A missile from Iran struck the main hospital in southern Israel early Thursday, wounding people and causing major damage.
Several wards were completely demolished, and there is extensive damage across the entire hospital.
In response, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered Israel's military to intensify attacks on Iranian targets, and Israel's defense minister said Iran's supreme leader should not continue to exist. At the White House, President Trump returns to the Situation Room this morning as the U.S. weighs whether to join Israel offensively.
CBS News has learned President Trump approved attack plans on Iran, but has not made a final decision, according to a senior intelligence source and defense official.
President Trump will do what's best for America. I trust his judgment. He's a tremendous friend, a tremendous world leader, a tremendous friend of Israel and the Jewish people. And we will do what we have to do, and we are doing it.
Sources say the president has held off in case Iran agrees to give up its nuclear program.
I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, because things change. I mean, especially with war.
The State Department has alerted U.S. citizens in Iran to leave now. The U.S. ambassador to Israel also posted on social media that American citizens wanting to evacuate Israel can sign up on the State Department's website as the U.S. organizes charter flights and cruise ships for evacuation.
The U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, also warned American citizens living in Israel who have decided to stay and stick close to a shelter to not ignore any warning sirens. The Trump administration is set to end a dedicated suicide support line for LGBTQ plus youth. A part of the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, known as 988 Option 3, will be taken offline on July 17th. The CEO of the Trevor Project says the service supported a high-risk group through their darkest moments and described the change as devastating. The Department of Health and Human Services says the general 988 service will still be available for anyone experiencing a crisis. The FDA has approved the first twice-a-year shot to prevent HIV. The vaccine is marketed under the name Yes2Go. The shot was initially used to treat HIV, but now the maker says it can be used to prevent infection. 2 clinical trials showed the drug reduced the risk of HIV infection by 96%. That all comes as the Trump administration eyes deep cuts to HIV prevention funding.
The problem, of course, is in the United States, we have decreased support from federal programs, both inside the United States and abroad, for HIV prevention. So the question remains, are we going to be able to have access and use and instructions for people who need it?
Not clear at this point how much insurance would cover for the shot. There are still more than 30,000 new HIV infections in the U.S. every year. President Trump has officially given TikTok a little more time. He signed an executive order to keep it running in the U.S. for another 90 days. That gives his administration more time to strike a deal to bring TikTok under American ownership. That marks the 3rd extension from the president. The first came in January, his first day in office, after a national ban took effect and the app briefly went dark. Today is Juneteenth. The federal holiday commemorates the day back in 1865 when a group of African Americans in Galveston, Texas finally learned that they were free 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. But the deep harm of slavery did not magically end with the institution. The legacy of slavery would hang over the Black community like a creeping shadow for generations. So today, we are taking a closer look at a special mentoring program in the city of Oakland. Devin Feely shows us the leaders of that program that believe the key to building a better future lies in reclaiming their people's past.
The drums echo with history.
We offer them support in whatever it is they're going through in life.
The rhythms reminding and binding us to a proud past, to African ancestry, to a time untarnished by the pain, by the stain of slavery.
We're working with young boys to help them develop as individuals, to help them develop their leadership skills, to help them develop their learning skills, to help them develop their spiritual and moral skill.
Gregory Hodge is the CEO of the Brotherhood of Elders Network, a special mentoring organization in the city of Oakland. His goal is to repair the frayed fabric of community by connecting young Black boys to their African American elders.
People get exposed to the wisdom associated with solving life challenges.
Hodge has been involved with the Brotherhood since its founding roughly 15 years ago. He's been a mentor and a friend to Kevin Butler since he was invited to join the organization 6 years ago.
They saw my heart and, where I was coming from. I saw their hearts and where they were coming from in terms of being able to unite on that mission of uplifting the community and fostering environments for Black boys and young men to thrive.
Butler said he'd lost his grandparents around the time that he joined, that the bonds of brotherhood helped fill the void left by their loss. And within the organization, he found the encouragement and the guidance to start his own business.
It's like, we come from different backgrounds, we come from different generations. And of course, it's easy to slip into that habit of let's focus on how all the different ways that we're different, But when we go to the retreat and we're having these deep conversations and we're being vulnerable with each other, all that kind of fades away.
The Brotherhood is now trying to build on that foundation of community and culture, connecting with other like-minded organizations in Oakland. They recently published the first edition of the Black Youth Development Book.
I asked myself, who's helping our young people navigate these modern times?
Kevin Hill says he hopes the book amplifies the Brotherhood's message, putting information at parents' fingertips.
I see it as very important and part of our responsibility to make sure that our young people have culturally affirming programming and mentors and adults that they're exposed to so that they can grow up with cultural pride.
Pride and purpose and a sense of history, the elders say, is the key to the community's future.
People say this all the time, but change happens at the speed of trust. And trust is based on healthy, strong relationships, in my opinion.
The Brotherhood recently extended their mentorship program into a few middle schools in Oakland. They had previously focused on young men, high school age and older. Coming up next year on CBS News Bay Area.
It's been 1 year since the passing of baseball legend Willie Mays. Today we're speaking with family and fans to learn more about the Say Hey Kid, not just for his game, but also for his heart.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
busy day for us today, but at least the temperatures are a lot cooler compared to yesterday, at least. Yesterday, we got close to the triple digits in areas like Antioch, all the way up into the North Bay, too. But today, we're back into the 70s, and that's the case as we head into the first day of summer right around the corner tomorrow. The longest day of the year is also going to be a very sunny one for many of us here in the Bay. A little bit cloudier along the coastline, but other than that, we're just dealing with strong winds pushing in from offshore. Each afternoon as we dive into this weekend, the winds die down as we head into next week.
Gone, but definitely not forgotten. It was 1 year ago that we said goodbye to baseball legend Willie Mays. Lorene Ayub got a chance to talk to his son about how he tries to carry on his dad's legacy on and off the field.
As the saying goes, legends never die. And the memory of Hall of Famer Willie Mays continues on in the Bay and beyond. 1 year later, the son of Willie Mays, Michael Mays, is speaking out. In this past year, has there been a moment where you felt his presence most significantly?
His presence overall has been what you'd expect it to be: dynamic, ever present. He's there with us every step of the way.
Mays gets his first hit of the series.
Reflecting on his father's contributions on and off the field, he says his ability to empower others, athlete or not, was his greatest gift.
In a locker room, to see a young player inspired by a technique or just access to a hero, somebody that looks like you. You know, so this is what I think is the most important things that he leaves.
Willie Mays didn't just play the game, he transformed it, shattering records and racial barriers alike. But still, no matter how busy and successful he was, his son Michael says he always made time.
Nobody got cheated. He had this ability to manipulate time. Like, we could have to be somewhere in 20 minutes to a flight or whatever, and we would stop and talk to kids for 15, 20 minutes, but somehow we'd still be on time when we got there. Magically, I really believe he had the ability to make something. So that's what we're putting out there. We're asking parents, people to try to make the time for your kids. Whether you have it or not, make it.
It's the kind of time Michael is putting forth to continue his father's legacy, with a focus on youth mentorship. As for fans like Justin Beheshti, he remains inspired by his timeless skills.
It's a level of effort that I think you can watch it as a kid now and see it right away. You understood what it meant to hustle.
And it's that combination of hustle and heart that Michael is committed to sharing on behalf of his father.
Trying to forward that Mays energy. We call it the Mays way. They call it say hey, all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is engagement, particularly with our youth, those that are underserved, every day.
Because connecting with communities of all colors was the essence of Willie's greatness.
Oh, coming up, a man on the peninsula is on a mission to help his homeless neighbors break the cycle of poverty. We're going to hear from him and the people who say that he has changed their lives forever.
You know, how I got into this work in the first place was that I wanted to figure out a way to live out my faith.
He is my hero. Basically, he got me off the streets.
The homeless population in San Mateo County has grown 18% over just the past 3 years. That is according to the latest count, and that number could be even higher. A man on the peninsula on the front lines has been lifting people out of homelessness for almost 30 years. Sharon Chin introduces us to this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award winner.
To be fairly popular.
Peter Steeler rises before dawn on weekdays, cooking and serving a hearty breakfast so dozens of people experiencing homelessness in San Mateo County can start their day right.
I find that when you're of service to people, your life is richer. Do you want the tofu and rice?
Peter and his volunteers also give away toiletries.
Yeah.
And provide showers at St. Bruno's Catholic Church in San Bruno.
V, you go in, and then I think you're next, Jorge.
It's the ministry of the Catholic Worker Hospitality House, the nonprofit Peter and his wife Kate Chatfield started 29 years ago.
I just need to organize that space.
It provides temporary shelter and evening meals for 6 people at the church, plus permanent, affordable housing for a dozen others at 2 boarding houses in San Bruno and South San Francisco. Peter lifts people up in their time of greatest need.
How I got into this work in the first place was that I wanted to figure out a way to live out my faith.
Give me the next one out here.
Janice Dahl says Peter helped her and her husband get back on their feet. They stayed at the shelter and now rent a room at the Catholic Worker Boarding House, and she works at the shelter, paying forward Peter's kindness.
He is my hero. Basically, he got me off the streets. He's like my angel that I didn't think I had.
Melinda Lent is also grateful that Peter offered her a place to live at the hospitality house after she'd lived for months in her car.
He's like a lifesaver. I mean, I was out there in the car, you know, in the street, and he said, expedited my, come on in, I got some space, and let me stay here, and now I'm housed.
Whether he's clearing the room or cleaning the dishes, Peter is often on the move, leading by example. The Catholic Worker Hospitality House relies on volunteers and private donations and does not accept government support. But he does find support and fulfillment building community, helping people go from despair to hope in starting over.
I get to see that change, and I get to be part of it. It feels wonderful.
So for 29 years of serving the unhoused through Catholic Worker Hospitality House, this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award goes to Peter Steeler.
Now you can nominate a local community hero for a CBS News Bay Area Icon Award on our website. Go to kpix.com/icon. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.